And good morning, everybody. We're live. Congratulations. You made it through the week. Another week of fantastic food safety, food quality, amazing products that we all enjoy every single day. And a lot of the work that you do goes unheralded. Nobody notices because you're doing so awesome. But guess what? I notice, Cori notices, and we're here to say thank you very much for all you do. We really appreciate it. If you're new, pull up a chair. My name is Bryan Armentrout, and this is the Food Safety Chat Live, and I'm with the Food Leadership Group. And every week, it is my distinct pleasure to bring on an expert in food safety, and we talk about all kinds of fun stuff. And we do this for you. This is meant to be interactive. This is not meant to be a stale presentation and all kinds of boring stuff. This is meant to share information and impart knowledge, because food safety, not a point of competition. We're all in this together. And when the consumers judge food safety, they judge it based upon our actions as a group. So we need to work together on these type of things. And so with that, this is going to be an amazing show today. I'm so excited for the show. So if you've been on here before, you know my guest. This is Cori Muse with Muse Food Safety Solutions. How are you today, Cori?
I'm good, Bryan.
Foodsafetydumpsterfire.com. I love it. That is so awesome. And if you're as jealous as I am, you're noticing what Cori's wearing.
She's got her clown snake shirt.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love it. I cannot wait to get mine. So one of the things, everybody, that we love to do on the chat here when we start out is let us know where in the world you're at. And it's, Austin's got his popcorn. I'm in Loveland. Austin, of course, not too far away from me. And Cori, you're down in Texas, right?
South Texas, almost next to Mexico.
So what's nice about this time of year, this is my favorite time of year in Colorado. The nights are cool. You can open up your windows. I think last night, let's see, it was like in the mid 50s, just, gorgeous weather. I think it's supposed to be 85 today, not a cloud. So it's going to be a wonderful day. Merrill is here. Hello. I'm keeping an eye on you. He's a designated sponsor, I think. Paul, welcome. Salt Lake City, beautiful city. I like Salt Lake City. So with that, gosh, let's dive in here and get things going. So first off, everybody, join us for a morning drink of your favorite beverage. Cheers. Wonderful. Ashley, hello. Nice to see you. So one of our new traditions here on the Food Safety Chat, Cori, that you have to suffer through is this. The dad joke. Are you ready for the dad joke?
Yes.
Why can't you trust atoms?
I mean, I might know the answer, but I'm going to let you tell me.
They make up everything.
That's good.
It's just like this low form of torture that I think that dads enjoy inflicting on other people. Heather, good morning to you as well. We're seeing some new faces here, and I love that. So, Cori, as we get started in here with all these new folks that are joining the chat, why don't you let everybody know a little bit about what you do?
So I've been in the food industry about 15 years. Right now, I am a consultant. Like you said, I run Muse Food Safety, and also another business that does FSVP services, agent services. And I guess you'd say I'm a little bit of a food safety activist. I've been a whistleblower twice. I work with an organization called Global Harmonized Initiative, GHI, that I talk about sometimes, that helps people all over the world blow the whistle. So I believe we have the website in 27 different languages. We have people like me all over the world that have expertise in certain countries on how to blow the whistle. And if you ever have something that you are concerned about and want to make an anonymous report, come to my website and there's a link for how to do that. But to sum it all up, I care a whole lot about food safety, and I'm very vocal about the truth. So I don't sugarcoat things.
And that's good. We need more of that in our industry for sure, because
and I should also mention because what we're talking about, I have been a GFSI auditor, and I have been auditing the better part of a decade. So I do have quite a bit of auditing experience as well.
Right. So we kind of have the inside scoop here on what we're kind of talking about here today as well. And what's interesting, I think, Cori, about what we're talking is in the food industry, we kind of have events that kind of go along, and you have low-level recalls and stuff like this, and all of a sudden something hits, and everybody goes, holy crap, what was this? And it gets everybody's attention. And all I have to do is go on my feed in LinkedIn and look around a little bit. Everybody is talking about this. And we've seen articles from Bill Marler and Coral Beach at Food Safety News, and Don't Eat Poop with Matt, right? And with Matt Ragusi, and of course Francine Shaw talking about this, right? And I don't mind talking about other people in our industry that are talking about these things, because this is really important, and we're all in this together. Darren Detweiler's been talking about this as well, and I've had people that I work with in other industries who are not affiliated with this tell me, I'm never buying another BoarsHead product again as long as I live. And when you read through, oh my God, with this BoarsHead recall, it's just jaw-droppingly shocking. And just a little background here, Cori. What exactly? So for people who may be listening who don't know about the BoarsHead recall, I doubt it, but can we give a little background? What happened with BoarsHead?
I mean, they had some major failures at I believe it was the Virginia facility, and we have this report that regulators have typed up with these deficiencies. I believe there's at least 57 people in the hospital. I won't be surprised if that count goes up. 9 people dead.
Yeah.
They had Listeria. They had a Listeria outbreak, and that's something that's common with deli meat. And they also had the regulators identifying some deficiencies. And one thing that stands out to me is that they were GFSI certified by SQF, and they had a very excellent score. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of a gap here between what GFSI saw and what the regulators saw. But bottom line, there's an issue, and it didn't get that way overnight. Things like that don't happen because you had one little pocket of a pathogen. That's something that's systematic failures.
Exactly. And to kind of illustrate this, we're not going to read through this thing because it'll ruin your breakfast. But I'm going to attach this at the end of our chat, the link for this. But this is the inspection reports, and so if you look at the dates on these guys, right, this is going back. This is 2023, right? August of 2023, and look at this, Cori, 44 pages in this non-compliance report. Yeah. And all you have to do, read through this first page. Heavy discolored meat buildup was found on the pump that was built on the floor. Around the motor was meat, wood pieces, plastic. Obvious odor filling the department. Obvious odor filling the department. Oh, right. And you just go through this and like, how in the world was this missed? So to your point, yeah. So BoarsHead has closed the plant, right? They've shuttered this plant. They said, we're never going to make liverwurst again. Hundreds of people have lost their jobs. They brought in a blue ribbon academic panel of former FDA people and all these types to come in and see what the heck happened with these things, to try and figure out all of this. And it's too little too late. And kind of the $1 million question on this, Cori, is, good Lord, why didn't they see this coming? How could you not?
I mean, I believe, I don't have evidence, but I would bet they knew. They knew, and someone in that facility was going to someone in leadership saying, what are we going to do about this? That would be my guess.
Yeah, and it's kind of this, attitude, and we see this a lot in, this is something that I've talked about on the chat before, Cori, and it's something that you always have to look out for as a food safety expert, is if people start saying things like, well, you point something out, you're in a plant, you're doing inspection, you say, well, what is this over here? And it's really nasty, dirty, whatever. and the plant kind of gives you something along the lines of, oh, it's always been that way, or we're waiting for capital 3 years from now to kind of fix that, and we're blah blah blah, right? There's always an excuse, or there's a justification or a rationale for why things are they are. And I think it's just part of human nature. People get used to stuff, and part of this is, that's why we're effective when we go into production facilities, because we're fresh eyes, right? We look at stuff and say, well, what is that? But here we have, going back to August of 2023, just mountains of evidence that shouldn't have been overlooked in any way. And like Austin says here, how could they not know, right? It's just unfathomable. And the people who are associated with us now have to live with for the rest of the life that they killed people as a result of this. You killed people.
Very serious.
Right? I can't imagine. I can't imagine having to live with that pain and all of that grief. Right now, of course, the class action lawsuits are coming, and Bill Marler's involved, and it's just going to be horrible. I can't even imagine how much damage they've done to their company and their brand and trust. I saw there was a story in Food Safety News this morning about consumer trust in food safety, all-time low. I wonder why.
It should be. I mean, I think it's time that consumers lower their trust and kind of see the light, because I don't think anything's going to change until consumers start demanding it. Because as long as people keep buying these products and keep going to these restaurants that are disgusting and making them sick, and they say, oh, but the food is good. I mean, that's great, but I don't want diarrhea. I'll skip the diarrhea. I'd rather have good food. My definition of good food is safe and healthy as well, but everybody's different. But I really think that the consumers at some point are going to have to get outraged. Really outraged.
I think so too. And part of this, right, and this is the elephant in the room that we're talking about here today, is auditing, right? So food plants have audits, USDA, FDA, whatever. So you have, Cori, government audits that come in. Now, if you're in a large USDA plant, right, odds are you have an inspector there all the time, right? They have their own office and parking spot and everything. Number one, that gets back to this report, right? This was a USDA plant. Why was this missed from that perspective? Why were these things not fixed? And then you have, the FDA audits, of course. And if you're a high risk item, ready to eat, infant formula, things like this, you're going to see FDA on a regular basis, maybe every year or two. But still, that's not very much. Even when FDA comes in, right, they're only there for a few days, if that. If they're there for just a routine inspection, if they come in for cause, that's a different situation. But there's not very much. And you posted a meme on this, right? We hear this phrase all the time. It's a snapshot, right? Oh, we're coming in to get a snapshot. And with FDA, it's unannounced. You don't know they're coming. But there's also what we talk about with third-party audits. So behind that, and at a really high level, just so everybody's on the same page here, how do those things work? So there's a requirement a lot of times from retailers and other people that you be third-party accredited audit. And you hire a company, a certification body, who then sends in an auditor to look at your plant. And this is done once a year. And under GFSI, during every 3-year audit cycle, one of those audits is unannounced. The other two are announced. And human nature, right? So Cori, I'm coming in as an auditor. Your SQF audit is coming up. Not to pick on SQF, they're all the same. And you're the quality manager, and I'm coming in 2 weeks. What are you doing?
Oh, I mean, me personally, I would have been audit ready, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I mean, I'm probably going around to all my departments, making sure their documents are in order, making sure their records are in order. I've seen some places even falsify records when they know that the audit is coming. You pencil whip everything in. You go around telling everybody there's going to be an audit, clean up, mind your P's and Q's, behave yourself on that day. I've seen some places that tell certain people to stay home on that day, or, don't leave your office because they're low-hanging fruit, or maybe they want to talk to the auditor. But you're doing a lot of, I would almost say, fire drill preparation to get ready for the audit that's around your existing system. So it's somewhat counterintuitive. If you have working systems, there's really nothing to get ready. It's really just to announce, hey, we've got somebody to come check our working systems.
Exactly. And the way it works in a lot of plants is if I'm the plant manager in this scenario now, right, I'm coming to you and say, all right, Cori, got the audit coming up. It's your job. It's your job to make sure we pass this audit. I'm going to hold you accountable to this. It's not the management team. It's you.
Yeah.
And so then you have the opening meeting. Everybody kind of shuffles in to listen to the auditor giving his opening remarks, and then everybody leaves. And it's you and the auditor, isn't it? And over the next few days, the auditor has to get through hundreds of questions, right? And the audit generally goes like this. You have your opening meeting, and then the auditor settles in. He starts asking you paperwork questions. Okay, well, we'll start here with management review. Okay, do you have a management review program? Yes, I do. Great. Can you show me the meetings from your last minute? Yes, here they are. Okay, great, very good. Do you have a poster hanging up in your plant for the food safety policy? Yes, I do. Okay, I'll look at that when we go through the plant. Check. And at some point, the auditor gets bored and says, okay, I'm ready for the plant tour. Let's go walk around the plant and see what's up. Okay, cool, right? So then you do a walk through the plant, and the auditor starts looking at stuff. And depending on the auditor, he may start asking questions of people and making notes and things like this. And then you go back to the office and you follow up on some stuff. It's like, okay, for the 5 people I met on the floor, I would like to see their training records. Oh, okay, and then you dig out that paperwork, rinse and repeat. At some point during the second or third day, the auditor starts doing this because he is nowhere near getting done with all the questions he needs to ask. And things start speeding up. If the auditor trusts you, it's like, oh, okay, Cori, do you have a sanitation program in place with the PM? Yeah, here's my PM program for my sanitation and all the checklists and everything else. Okay, all right, yeah, right, and types it up. At some point on the second or third day, the auditor kicks you out, right, and says, okay, Cori, great. I think I kind of understand what I need right now. I need to type my stuff up to get ready for the closing meeting. Oh, okay. And then during this point, you're negotiating and auditing. And if looking at the audit and looking over his shoulder, and if the auditor's writing something up, you're trying to influence that and say, oh, come on, that guy's hairnet wasn't that bad. Well, yeah, okay, I'll kind of give you that. And then you have the closeout meeting. Plant manager walks in and says, what's my score? Right?
Yeah.
And the auditor says, well, this is a preliminary score, but I'm showing that you had 7 minor nonconformances, and so your score is 93. What? 7 minor nonconformances? Let me see that. I want you. And then the plant manager starts arguing with the auditor, and the auditor says, no. You get this back and forth. The auditor then says, okay, this is not the final report. This needs to go for technical review, et cetera, right? We know the drill. So behind the scenes, then the auditor leaves, and the auditor is nowhere done with his report. And guess what? He's got another audit to do that week too. And he's got 2 from last week that he needs to follow up on from the corrective actions for, and the week before that. And so he's the guy sitting on the airplane with his laptop scrunched up, trying to do this to fill out his report and answer all of these questions. And then technical review comes back and answers questions, and all it's a lot. And even then, that auditor, if he's in the plant for 3 days, right, that's what? A little more than 1% of the time that plant actually operates during that 7-day work week over the course of a year. And that's all he sees. And clearly this isn't working. And a lot of times, people will say, hey, this auditor that you guys sent in, not very good, right? He didn't know much about my plant. He doesn't understand our processes. Send me a different auditor next time or whatever. And then this bubbles up through the auditing infrastructure, and rules get changed. And now all of a sudden it's, okay, well, we need to make it harder to become an auditor, or you need to put in more rules and more training and everything else. And you end up with less auditors, and the pool goes down, and it gets harder to get these things done. A lot of times good auditors are booked out a year or 2 in advance, aren't they?
Yeah. And you're doing a lot of this stuff at your own expense. So, I mean, the CVs aren't always great with their auditors, and you get what you pay for. So if an organization is maybe not paying very well and not treating their auditors very well, the best of the best are not going to put up with that. They're going to leave. So this is a huge systems issue as we're talking about it. Every step of the way, you're looking at something that's dependent on another factor that's also got some gaps. And there's gaps everywhere. It's like a beach ball, fill it with water. There's just water spewing out everywhere. I don't know which one to try and plug up first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and part of this too, right, is who is an auditor? An auditor a lot of times is a guy like me who's worked in the industry a long time and has retired or something like this and is now bored at home and decides to hit the road and be an auditor for a few years and get some, fishing money so that he's got it on the weekends with his buddies and whatever else. And that lasts for a while, right? That's it. And so part of the challenge on the upstream side of this with young, kids getting out of school and things like this is trying to lure them into the auditing profession. And good luck, right? They haven't been very successful on it. Because part of it is, hey, okay, welcome to our auditing company. We're a certification body. You're working for us. Here's your tools. It's a flashlight and a laptop and a notebook. And it's like, these millennial kids look at the laptop and say, what? Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, we have an Excel spreadsheet in here that you need to fill out all this information in. Where's the app?
Yeah.
And the kids are like, oh, right. And the tools don't match up with what we need to be doing. And really, and Larry is doing a great job here, kind of teeing up what we're talking about here today, right? Which is, okay, we know what's not working, but what does work, right? Clearly, this isn't giving us the results that we want. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, right?
Yes.
And the analogy we're talking about here, as I was getting ready for this, and I thought about this last night, and Cori and I were talking about this before we went live, is, auditing is a checklist, and we all know this. And the analogy I was using was police work, right? We've all seen Law and Order in shows like this. And you have a beat cop who's walking around and he comes around, he goes down an alley and he sees a dead body in the alley. He's like, right. And he cordons off the area and puts up some stuff. And what do? They call in the detectives. And so the detectives are there to figure out what happened. The detectives do not pull out a checklist. Right? Oh, okay, here's my murder checklist that I'm going to go through. And as I complete this murder checklist, this is going to tell me who the murderer was. Right? So they go around the checklist and say, okay, all right. What's your name, ma'am? All right, Cori Muse. All right, great. Are you the murderer?
Exactly. No, of course not.
Okay, let me mark that off. Okay, great. And then they get to the end, and it's like, okay, well, my murder checklist is complete, and the murder checklist is a 98%. Okay, great. Did you catch the murderer? Well, no, right? No. What a detective does is like Detective Briscoe, right? Lenny Briscoe. I loved him on that show, right? They go in and they start asking questions, and then they start probing, and they start looking for inconsistencies. They start looking for gaps in the system. It's like, okay, well, Cori, here, you were saying that you were in the bar until 11 o'clock. Is that right? That's what I'm showing on my notes. Yes. Well, then can you explain to me why at 10:30 this camera that was on this building showed you outside the murder scene? Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I went for a quick walk. You went for a walk from the bar. Why did you go for a walk from, right? And it just continues, and they get caught up in this analogy. And eventually the detectives say, okay, yeah, Cori's the murderer. Right, here's our evidence. Here's what we did. And then she's like, you got me, right? You got me. And that's the right way to approach these things. What do you think of that analogy? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great analogy. And it kind of, you're basically talking about like relevant risk focused investigation or auditing. And why aren't we doing that? Why would you go through that checklist when you see something on the camera that contradicts what that person is saying? We need to investigate that. And so, yeah, I would say our approach is almost set up so that everyone passes. It's very easy to pass as long as you check the boxes, but is that activity have any value at all? And I mean, is it working? Is it giving us effective systems if people are dying? I don't think so. And
Right.
it's not just like, hey, I had an audit and I passed by the skin of my teeth. I got an excellent score. And by the way, I killed 9 people. Ugh,
Yeah.
I have a hard time reconciling that.
Yeah. So, I mean, a report in
That's
Excel, right?
criminal.
Yeah. This should be criminal. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And I mean, so part of this, right? And with our show today, right? It's really easy to pile on and look at these things and just this absolutely horrific report. But part of this, right, I think, and what we want to look at here today, and as a group, and this is why I love the chat, is let's talk about this, right? And we're getting some amazing comments here about this, right? And Austin asks a great question here, is I'm curious how many people actually fail their audit, right? And well, I can tell you it's very small. It's a very small percentage. And part of this, right, is part of it is the design of the system. And this is one of the comments that I made online is be very careful how you design systems, because how you design the system is going to take you to a particular output. Right? Mm-hmm. If you want to lose weight and you're like, okay, I'm just going to starve myself, and yeah, how well is that going to work, right? That's not going to work. You need to design a system of exercise and proper eating and doing the research and saying, okay, well, I'm going to do low carb, or I'm going to do paleo, or who knows what. You then put measuring mechanisms in place to track your course. So I'm going to weigh myself every morning. I'm going to have a checklist of making sure that I exercise. I'm going to hold myself accountable. And ideally, right, you're telling other people about this and saying, hey, I'm going to lose some weight. I need you to make sure that I stay on track. Can you do that for me? I want you to ask me every single day, did I do what I'm supposed to do? And you get those feedback mechanisms going on this, and then you start seeing progress. Right? If you just try and do the starvation diet, okay, yeah, fine, you're going to lose a little bit of water weight for a bit, and then it's going to pop right back up, and you're going to get depressed, and you're going to gain some more weight.
It's not effective. Right?
Yeah, you have to design the system. Everything falls back to systems. And the thing that we're talking about here today is this system isn't working. It's clearly not working.
Yeah, one of those comments, the audit system does not fit the crimes, and that's very true. And I would say they're designed, in my opinion, it's a really great playbook for bad players. If you're a good player and you look at it, you're doing the right thing, everything's fine. But for those that have no idea what to do, and I've worked for some of these people, they get the playbook and they say, oh, we just write the programs and we have the title. And then when the auditor comes, we show it to them and they check the box and they pass us. But that's just showing you how to fake having a food safety system. And Larry's right. Like, we need schemes that fit the crimes, but we also need audits that demonstrate effectiveness or efficacy. And if your system, no matter what it is, if the output has no effectiveness, or you can't even tell me why you're doing it, you should probably reevaluate that system, because it's likely futile.
Yeah, it's the question that's been asked over and over again, Cori. Okay, we're doing all this wonderful work in food safety. Recalls don't go down. Why? Right? And then you have a big one hit like this that really hits consumer confidence, where consumers are saying, and I've had people tell me this, I will never, ever, ever buy BoarsHead again. I don't care what their products are. I will never buy them again. How much does food safety cost? Right? BoarsHead, can you tell us how much food safety costs? Right. Good luck. Now, if you're in another company that produces similar products, and you have amazing food safety and food quality, are they going to trust you? Probably not. I know if I'm a consumer, you're going to have a second thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Austin says here, right? And we've talked about this on here before, and when we've done AI shows, is, give me all the documentation to pass the audit, right? And part of this is, and this is built into standards as well, is there was a recognition that, and this was talked about here as well too, is the auditor spending too much time on paperwork. Well, yeah, they don't want to spend their nights and their weekends writing up the report. plus their memory goes, right? If you have a bunch of audits going on at the same time, now which plant had the rat run across the floor? I forget, right? And you're writing up your reports. They want to get that done as much as they can while they're there.
Oh, yeah.
And that means spending a significant chunk writing up the report, sitting in your conference room. So Scheme saw this and said, well, no, we want you have to be out on the floor at least 50% of the time. Really? Are they doing that?
No way.
No, they are not. And so part of this, right, is with this is it's like, oh, it must be, the certification body did a bad job and stuff like that. I don't think that's the problem either. There's some amazingly good certification bodies out there. There's other ones, maybe not so good, but there's some really good ones out there. And again, if let's do another analogy here. Let's say that I'm the local police force. I'm on the police kick here today, Cori. And it's like, okay, congratulations, Bryan. You're the chief of police here for this local city. Okay, great. Here's your cops. All right, great. Have them go around and check stuff. Well, no. Only have them check stuff 1% of the time. What? Yeah. So only 2 days out of the year, send your cops to go run around the city and see if there's something going on. And if they see stuff, write it up, and then come back, and then we'll put in some corrective actions for what the police saw. How effective is that going to be?
No, I mean, we know how that's going to go. And that's why I say I think these systems are set up for everybody to pass. I mean, yeah. I don't believe, it is a business. So if I have a food facility and I pay the CB $10,000, I'm expecting the activity that gets me the certificate. I'm not trying to get food safety. I'm trying to get my food in Walmart or Costco. So it's not a tool for effective food safety. It's a customer requirement. And I think we have to look at it like that. And if you want effective audits, you're going to have to do it differently. There's a different way to do an audit. If your end goal is I want to verify or validate that my system is effective, then I need a different kind of audit and a different kind of auditor to come in and give me that report. Right.
And it's like Duncan talks about here, it's incentives, right? And this has been a criticism of this entire auditing business as well. And it's a business. Is if I'm hiring you, Cori, to come in and audit my plant, you're like, yes, I'm making some money, right? And I'm the guy paying you, right? And you want to keep me happy. And if you come in and give me a bad score, it's like, oh, I don't like that. Well, I'm going to go find a different person to audit, right? Now you lose the business. It's like, oh, man, that's a lot of money out of my pocket. And so a lot of people have rightly pointed out, well, isn't this a conflict of interest to have the auditor paid by the people that are doing the auditing?
Yeah. There's a lot of conflict of interest when you look at it from a very basic level of ethics, but then we tend to ignore those things when we get into its business. Because I don't know how many times I've heard it's a business decision, and me, the crazy nerd, is like, no, you can't do this. People are going to die. People are going to get sick. And I know it's going to take a long time for it to end up like BoarsHead, but I do know eventually it will end up like that if we don't do X, Y, Z. But that's not the culture or the industry we're living in right now.
Yeah, it becomes a cancer. It doesn't go away. It just gets worse and worse. And you end up with a 44-page report of nonconformances when it finally blows up. Completely unacceptable. In the United States, completely unacceptable. And like you said too, on some of your LinkedIn posts, it's like, I go across the border and catch a snack in Mexico, and it's much better over there, much better. So what the hell's going on, right? We're seeing more and more of this.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And keep the comments coming here, guys. This is amazing. Yeah. So RFK, right? So he's out there advocating and talking about this. It's like, yes, good for you, right? That's a message that I want to hear out there. I want to hear people talking about this, and that's what's kind of encouraging. And that's what I love about this, Cori, is people are starting to have frank, public conversations about this, right? A lot of times in industry, how does this work? So let's say that I'm head of quality and food safety at a meat company that produces deli meats, not BoarsHead. I'm like, oh, right? What the heck happened? And a lot of times, the only way you find out what happened is through your connections, right? So you start calling your friends and saying, hey, what happened at BoarsHead? What's going on at BoarsHead? Did you hear what happened at BoarsHead? Because you're not doing it because you're being a gossip. You're doing it because you want to learn from their mistakes. And that's part of the problem too, is that this is all completely hidden. Right? It's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we're going to shut down the plant. We're going to bring in this panel of blue ribbon food safety experts from academia. They're going to give us all these recommendations for our new plants. And are we going to see that report? Are we going to hear about it? Maybe, maybe not, right?
Yeah, but I mean, even like Austin and I were talking about when he was trying to get people to tell stories about good food safety, no one wanted to participate.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you're doing so good. We want to show you how good you're doing, but they're scared because it's like, oh no, I don't want to end up like, I forget which Purdue Farms on that documentary Poisoned. I don't want to end up like that. And so how do we learn how to do good food safety? How do we change the culture? I mean, my opinion is you don't. Like, we're going to just have to start appropriately putting consequences for the bad players, because the bad players will continue to operate the way they are until there's a consequence that deters them, and giving them fines that their insurance and their budgets have planned for isn't a consequence that stops them from murdering people.
Yeah, exactly. And part of this, right, is, so working in food safety, and we've talked about this, right? We have a loyalty beyond the company. We're protecting the public. We're protecting small children. We're protecting old people. We're making sure that people don't, die from eating liverwurst. And within companies, you have other viewpoints, right? And this gets into the lawyer piece of it, right? So you have a company counsel. And if you were to go to senior leadership in the company and say, hey, we need to be transparent in some of our issues here and help other companies improve, do you think the company lawyer is going to allow that? He's going to go, whoa, Bryan, what are you talking about? This opens us up to liability. This opens us up to lawsuits. The marketing people are going to be like, oh my God, this is going to damage our brand. Why are you even talking? No, forget about this, right? And this has been the common attitude around companies is, okay, a bad thing happens. Let's keep our heads down. Let's not talk about it. And then hopefully it goes away and we can recover in 5 years, right?
Do you think they should have to go in front of Congress maybe and tell everyone what they did? Oh,
well, and what's funny is
say, this is what we did to assure you that we're not going to do this again.
Right. And in the really high profile cases, we see this, right? Look, Chipotle, right? And where these issues just keep happening, and then they haul them in front of Congress. But again, that's one company, right? How many thousands of food companies are there out there, right? So your odds of that happening to your company, if you're a CEO, are like, it's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to get called up in front of anybody. I'm not a gigantic multinational conglomerate. They aren't paying attention to me. That's not going to happen, right? If they're thinking about it at all. But and so part of this is, and I wanted to definitely devote a decent chunk of this conversation, because this is the whole reason I started the food safety chat 4 years ago, is because these things need to be talked about and these things need to be discussed. And it's nice, Cori, to sit here and bitch about it and complain and everything else. But Tim hits it on the head here, which is, all right, great. What's the solution, right? And this is something that I've been working on for that period of time. And part of this, it gets back to that detective analogy. And food safety is not a snapshot. Food safety is not a snapshot. It's a habit. It's like exercising. It's like anything else. If you want to be good and strong at what you do, it has to be part of who you are, and it has to be done all the time. And who has the most interest in that? Well, if you're the head of food safety in a company, it should be you, right? It should be your neck on the line. You're the person responsible. You're the person that the CEO is looking to for that leadership. Now, it doesn't absolve that person of responsibility for the overall company, but you're the head honcho in that situation. You need to understand. And I think a lot of times they just how does the VP of quality generally evolve into that role, right? They come up through the ranks. I know I did, right? That's how it works. You start out as a microbiologist, then you get some plant experience, and now you're a regional person, and you get involved with other stuff outside of the company, standards and whatever else, and now all of a sudden you're the VP of quality. You don't go to school for this, right? And you come up through the ranks and you learn it that way. Oh, Cortland, you're hitting on a key point here. All right. So, do academics have sufficient knowledge versus industry experts? No.
Nope. I just have to say, I respect you guys, but I will bet that these people on this panel will not set foot in a single BoarsHead operational facility. And I don't know the last time they went into a production floor, but Cortland, no, I do not believe they have sufficient knowledge. They have academic, theoretical, textbook knowledge, but we all did until we went out on a production floor and realized this shit doesn't work. I mean, there's human factors involved. There's all kinds of things involved. You need people, frontline people out there. If you want to solve a problem, you better get somebody from the front line to go with you. At least that's what I do.
Yeah. Rancid meat in pumps does not care about the 5 pillars or whatever. Right? It's there. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be removed. And then we need to find out why in the hell that happened in the first place. And that's bottom up. That's not top down. Right. Yeah. You need to look at this evidence and say why. Okay, fine. You need to have, as we talked about, you need to have the systems, but it needs to be executed and implemented. And the person who's in charge of quality for that company is the person responsible for that and making sure these programs are in place. And really, as I've been going around with this, and it gets back to this detective analogy, right? You need people who go in and look at your company, because part of the challenge of this is, and this is something that's very, very difficult, is people aren't in companies without anything to do, right? If you're working for quality, right, you've got your tech service group, you've got your field quality group, you've got your compliance group, regulatory, whatever in your company. Everybody's super busy. Nobody has time to sit back and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to devise a whole new food safety program No, nobody has time for that. I know in my role, and this was through my entire career when I was working for companies, is when did I find out about food safety? On the weekends. That's when you read the articles. That's when you see what Bill Marler is saying. That's when you go through food safety news. That's when you try and find things to show your team, because you know they don't have time either. A lot of times I would send people to conferences. I didn't go to conferences. I didn't have time. So I would say, okay, we'll go to this conference and see what they're saying. And I want you to come back and tell me all the good stuff you learned so that we can hopefully improve our stuff. Hey, nobody's got time, right? Companies need detectives. Companies need people who go in working for the company under attorney-client privilege and say, all right, we're going to go in and we're going to uncover everything. We're going to get that back to you as the head of quality. Then you can fix it. If you don't know about it, you can't fix it. And you have to do it in an environment where it's not going to burn everything down, because now the lawyers, right, are saying, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. If we have a court case, this is going to come out as evidence or whatever, right? Well, okay, fine. Let's not have evidence. Right? How about that? Let's not do that.
I mean, it ties your hands to say, if I go looking for the real problem, I can't write it down because someone might see it. So I'm not even going to look. I'm not going to fix it. And that's the opposite of what we should be doing.
Yeah, you need people who are continuously monitoring this stuff and looking at food safety culture, right? Because we all wrestle with food safety culture and trying to figure out what it is. And we've had all kinds of chats on this too. And food safety culture is the everyday, day in, day out activities. Are we doing this? And you know, as well as I do, Cori, if you're going in and you want to figure out what's going on in a plant, you don't talk to the quality manager. You go out and talk to the guys on the floor, right? Hey guys, what's up? Oh yeah, we're doing that. Great. How's things? Oh Jesus, we've been complaining about this broken overhead pipe for 3 weeks now, and look at it. It's dripping water everywhere, and yeah, they put a piece of plastic underneath. This is bullshit. We need to get this fixed. You know what? You're right. You do, right? And if you're a good auditor or a consultant who's coming in, you bring that to their attention. You guys need to fix this, right? The old saying I would teach quality managers is if you want to understand a process, always talk to the operators. They're the closest to it, and they know what's really going on. The plant manager can give you a high-level overview of what it looked like a month ago, but if you want to understand how stuff is running today, you got to go talk to the operators. You have to be an investigator. You have to go out and do your detective work. Let's look at these comments here. So a lot to be gained by clearing your calendar. Yeah, I mean, walking the floor, all these type of things that we talk about, right? So part of this, and I've been working on this, and I'm getting pretty close on this to hopefully coming up to a solution. I'm going to be talking more publicly about this. I'm not ready yet, but it's getting pretty close. Is working on this detective angle. And it just absolutely sucks that something like this BoarsHead catastrophe happens, but it just illustrates what we're trying to do here. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, as Alex says here, good point, Alex, is you got to listen, right? You got to listen. We've all been in a situation as consultants or auditors where you go into a plant where the quality manager is so exasperated, right, Cori, because nothing's getting fixed, nothing's getting done, it's not in the budget, and all these type of things, where they'll pull you aside and say, hey, listen, you know, if you could really write up this area over here, I'd really like that, right? And if it gets to that situation, you know you've got a really bad situation on your hands.
Yeah, frequently as an auditor, I would hear that. And that's why I say I bet there were people at BoarsHead complaining. I highly doubt that everyone in the facility was enjoying the smell, or you know what I mean? Like it's leadership. It's usually C-suites or people that are just very detached. Maybe they don't even sit in the production because it's nasty and it stinks and I don't want to be there. You know, I've worked at places where they have a corporate office somewhere else, and the people making the decisions don't even sit in the same building as the people that are begging them for help.
Yeah. And I think part of this, and this gets back to what people were talking about here earlier as well, relative to the third-party standards. And now you've also got lack of trust because other companies are adding addendums. It's like, okay, well, this audit's kind of close to what I want, but I want other stuff because I think this needs to be more. So you end up with addendums like from Costco and McDonald's and things like this. Part of the problem, I think, here too, Cori, and I'm curious to get your thoughts around this, is the audit's too broad, right? So as we referenced earlier, you know, a GFSI food safety audit, 300 questions that poor auditor has to get through on every subject, you know, document control and training and sanitation and plant design and hygiene and pest control and maintenance and PM. Right? You need something that is focused only on food safety, right? You need somebody who is going in and saying, okay, I'm here to look at your food safety plan. I want to see your prerequisites. I want to see your preventive controls. We're going to go through these one by one. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to see if this actually works. And guess what? I'm going to be looking at this stuff every single day. I'm your partner now. Hey, you're going to, and guess what? This all rolls into a KPI that the head of quality for the company sees, and that reports into the LT.
Yeah, right. For sure. I
Yeah.
had a thought, and I kind of lost it. What was I going to say? I think I lost my thought.
Well, Duncan's got to go in here while that's coming to you, right? We shouldn't be criticizing auditors, right? They're doing the best they can, right? They're going in there and they're trying to do what they think they're doing, and they're there because they care, right? As we've talked about before, being an auditor is tough, right? That's a good point, Duncan.
Yeah. And the thought kind of came back to me, but to Duncan's point too, I mean, the auditor is doing what the CB tells them. And a lot of times the auditors will raise concerns to the CB and they will not put it in the report, or they'll ask you to take something out of your report. It's definitely a systems issue, but back to what Bryan was saying, if you have a clause or you have a scheme and it's got 300 questions, and I'm just going to use the alphabet. You have A to Z, but A through D applies to you. And if you do the other letters of the alphabet, you are distracting yourself from A to D, which is what you need for effective food safety, is just A, B, C, D. Focus on that. You get that. You've got effective food safety. But no, your GFSI scheme says that you need to add all these other letters of the alphabet. And now you're spending time, money, focus. It's a useless activity. And it's great there's people doing a useless activity and they're doing it great and efficiently, but why? Why are we doing useless things very well? I don't think that that's a good answer. I think that it has to be audits or scheme, or however you want to frame the semantics of it. It has to be relevant to the organization, the product they're making, the process and the way that they're doing it. And an auditor is not going to be an expert on your particular process and your particular product. You're the expert. So you tell me how to do that. And now I come in and I just make sure you're doing it safely, instead of I tell you how to do everything. You're adding programs and things to your existing programs that you need, but now you're wasting your time and you're distracting yourself. And now we have recalls, we have sickness, we have death. It's not working. And I would argue that because it's not effective, and most of the things you're doing are useless to your operation and your product.
Right. And so Cortland here is really hitting at the heart of the issue, right? Is FDA doesn't come in with a checklist, right? There's certain things that they do during the audit that they have to do. Here's your 482 permission to audit. Here's your 483. Oh, they have to do all that stuff. But if FDA goes in and they find something, they're digging, right? They are digging. So if they're reviewing your pasteurizer records and they're looking at it for compliance to the PMO or whatever, and they see failures on your graphs and people aren't signing off on stuff, guess what? That FDA investigator is now going to say, okay, I'm seeing inconsistencies in this program. I want to see the last year's worth of records for this now, right? The FDA auditor doesn't go, oh, geez, I've only got 2 days to get through all of this. So I see you got some problems here. I'll give you a minor and let's move on to the next subject. No, FDA will stay there as long as they need. And if FDA sees something they don't like, guess what? They're on the phone. Hey, district office, send me more guys. I want to do a swabathon. I don't like what I'm seeing here. Right? They have all the time in the world to complete this stuff. And as head of quality in a food company, I want that too. I want an internal team of people that's all they do is food safety, food safety, food safety, food safety, right? How are we doing with our suppliers? All these type of things. And also that group is talking with other people in the company, because this is something we really don't talk about a whole lot. Where does the audit take place? The audit takes place at the plant. The audit does not take place at corporate. Corporate has a huge influence on food safety, huge. What's procurement doing for food safety? What's R&D doing? What type of label claims are we making? What are we doing for allergens? Who's looking at that, right? So if I'm the head of quality and I'm going to procurement and saying, hey, listen, you got to be looking at food safety when you're looking at buying different stuff. They're like, that's your job, right? Bad, very bad. It's everybody's job.
So do you think that the head of quality can get that job done when you take in the factors of C-suite and others saying, we don't want to hear it or we want to suppress it? Do you think that they can effectively do that, or do you think that an outside person has to make that report?
I think you need resources for that, right? You need dedicated resources for that you can call upon. And again, right, your team, right? I didn't have anybody on my teams that wasn't doing anything. They were constantly working, right? Yeah. And if something came up that was an issue, right, then we had to jump on that. Then we had to go and do what we were supposed to be doing for the other stuff. And as head of quality, right, you're trying to manage all of this and communicate within the organization all of these type of messages. And you need people who are on your side who are doing this work for you in a safe environment where you're not going to get whacked for it, because you don't want that either. You don't want the head of the company coming back to you and say, hey, Bryan, I'm seeing some pretty crappy results here for your food safety stuff. I think I'm going to go a different direction and bring in somebody else, right?
Yeah.
If you think your job is at risk with this, what are you going to do, right? Again, systems. If you design the system to protect it, it's going to be protected. Boy, I love these comments, right? This topic, right, really is a long time coming. Right?
We need more time.
And I'm sure that there's people listening to this or who will listen to this aren't going to be happy, right?
Oh, yeah. I see you looking at my profile SQF board, board of
Right.
trustees.
And to the point that were made in here, right, as Tim is saying here, is you can't fix it until you talk about it, right? And if what we're doing, if the system that we have in place isn't giving us the desired result, right? It's the old Einstein quote, right? Keep doing the same thing. We need to find something better, right? And audits, of course, Felix was talking about this. Audits have a place, right? Internally, right?
Yes.
To continuously monitor and manage things. We want checklists for our auditors when they start up their equipment. Okay, are all the pieces in place? Is everything clean? Is everybody following GMPs? As reminders for everybody what they're supposed to be doing, right? And teaching them. And that's all food safety culture. But all these things need to be interlocked. And the systems that we have right now, I don't know. Wow, I love these comments, guys. So part of this, right, and that's what I definitely wanted as we're kind of getting to the end of our chat here today, which absolutely flew, is number one, these are learning experiences, right? These aren't opportunities to just say, oh, well, I would have done better. Yeah, okay, sure, right? Everybody says that. If I was to talk with the head of quality for BoarsHead, whoever this poor person is, I don't know them, they're living through a nightmare. And did they ever think that that was going to happen to them? No, right? Nobody does.
No.
Nobody goes into this thinking that. You're thinking that you're doing the best that you can and that hopefully things are going well. And then the disaster like this happens, people die, and you're going to carry this burden for the rest of your life. Nobody thinks it's going to happen to them. And then it does.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You never think it's going to happen to you until it does. And when it does, it's not a good feeling. If you've ever been on the receiving end of something like this, it's not fun. I've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, guys, I mean, the comments, I'm going through the comments to make sure we haven't missed anything important, but this is what I love about the chat, right? Is nobody is shaming anybody for this. We're all here because we care. We're all here, and I think you can hear it in the passion here with the comments and with how we're talking about this as well. And all of the public things that are being said right now, good, right? It's because we all care about food safety and we want safe food and we want to protect our grandchildren. And it's just, we need to be able to look in the mirror and say, maybe this isn't working.
Yeah. It's time to get real and take some action. Take some action. Think about it. Think about the GFSI cartel. It's not working, and we really need to get in front of the right people. So, I mean, I say that if somebody's listening and they feel like an action-focused person, contact me. I'm part of a think tank. I have other people in my circle, and I mean, even you, Bryan. We all want to do something, but we need the right steps, the right people, and we need to take action. And I think now's a good time with things with the election. People are mad, about chemicals in the food. There's a lot of other things going on. I think now is a perfect time to say we need a big, big change. And we're all people willing to help with that.
Right. We're the people to change it, right? We can't sit back and wait for somebody else, right? It's good to identify the issue, but now we need to figure it out. And I want to challenge everybody on this call, because the people on here, right, we're the top tier, right? We're the people who make this a priority every single week to figure these things out. And to Austin's point here, right, is what can we all do to start to improve the system? That's a great way to put it. Think about that, right? I've been thinking about this now for years. I think I've got a good idea on how to fix it. But again, this is just me thinking about this, right? This needs to be an effort where I bring this forward and say, okay, here's the program I got in place. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this is something that's actually going to improve, and figure out how to get to that food safety culture that we want, and figure it all out, right? And I love the comments here, right? Everybody's fired up too, right? I had a hard time sleeping last night thinking about this and getting ready for this, because we have to, right? It's us. Nobody else is coming. It's us.
I agree.
That close end rant. Any closing thoughts, Cori?
Oh, I don't know. This is a lot, because I do feel like we might need a part 2. But closing thoughts: foodsafetydumpsterfire.com is now live, and we'll be writing candid articles about stuff that's going on in the industry and kind of speaking to consumers. trying to educate them. And and if you think you have an idea for how to take action, send me a private message, because there's a few of us that are talking, trying to figure out what to do with this.
Yeah, reach out to me. And if you work in food safety, don't be discouraged, right? Don't feel like you're on your own. You're not. We're all in this together. We're here to help you. And we all care about this just like you do. So chin up, right? We'll get there. We'll figure this out. So with that, guys, have a good weekend, right? Think about everything that we've talked about here today. This is important stuff. And then what are you going to do next week about it?
Exactly.
So with that, we'll close out our chat for this week. We'll see you back here next Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain, 10 a.m. Eastern for the next food safety chat. And this is about you. So thank you very much for your input. We're getting better. We're improving. Be happy with that. And we'll see you then. So thank you very much, Cori. Fantastic chat. This has been amazing. And thank you for all that you do in food safety. You're a beacon out there, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend, guys. Talk to you soon.